It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. If this is your very first time, a huge welcome. We're so excited that you joined us. I hope that you're able to not only listen to this program, but check out some of our other amazing hosts and other programs out there. We have a variety of extremely awesome hosts and guests, and it's great if you're able to check them out. I know that you're going to be inspired by them just as much as I am. All right, I'm going to be welcoming back my amazing friend and monthly guest that I have on our program. Her name is Rhonda Armour, and she is just absolutely extraordinary. She always gives us some tips and tools. She has been such an inspiration in my life. I just love what she's doing and how she's really helping people out there. So welcome back, Rhonda.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled here, especially on the first day of spring.
Yay! Me
Yay.
too. I hope this snow goes away so I can really
me
feel
too.
it. Oh my gosh. Well, would you mind, Rhonda, telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe reintroducing yourself to our brand new listeners?
Absolutely. So I am a nutrition and lifestyle coach as well as a personal trainer, and I work with women all over the place because I do all of my work virtually, which is amazing. So I can, see you wherever you happen to be. And really what I do is I provide custom coaching for women around not just nutrition, but around moving our bodies and sleep and stress management. And one of the biggest pieces that I work on clients or work with clients on is mindset, based on what you have going on in your life. We all live very challenging, busy, complicated lives. And so based on what you have going on in your life, we're trying to figure out together how we can weave healthy habits, again, pertaining to all the topics I sort of just listed, into your life in a way that works for you. And that's where the custom piece comes in, because everyone is so different that the approach we have to take is different for each client. And just so that we can get everyone to a point where you feel really happy and confident in the healthy habits that you have as part of your life, because I want you feeling amazing every day, because that's what you deserve. So that's what I do with my clients, is really focus on, like I said, having healthy habits part of their life in a way that fits with their individual lifestyle.
Absolutely perfect. That is great. And you recently just did something amazing for yourself. You just went on a vacation, which, we've talked about in different programs that how important it is just to do something for yourself. So how was that? Was it a good time?
It was excellent. It was much needed. Great opportunity to obviously disconnect from the day-to-day grind, but also to give, an opportunity. This is what we get from when we step away from our routine and take some time away. It doesn't have to be an elaborate thing, but just some time away to the opportunity to reflect on, what's working, what's not working in my life. And I think that's really important to do, and so that you can come back with a fresh mind, which I feel like I've done, some new perspective, on how I want to run my life personally and in my business as well. So it was much needed, and I always, encourage my clients to take, time away, whether it is, an extended vacation or even just a few days here and there, because we often just think we can just keep pushing, and we can't, not very effectively anyway. So it's good to be able to step away. So I'm grateful that I had the opportunity.
Oh, that is excellent. And you sound amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. We all need vacation now and then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if it's only taking a couple of days and shutting off your phone on a weekend, I think that's really important too. And I actually had done that this weekend, and I felt so amazing doing that and being able to get out into nature and just having that time. And I think, we all can just do little bits at a time, and, it really helps.
Yep, it certainly does.
Perfect. Well, today we're going to be talking about self-compassion and nutrition. We've talked about nutrition quite a bit on our program over the last couple of years, and I'm really excited because the self-compassion part, I don't think people realize how important that little intricate part of it really is.
It really is. It's actually something I talk a lot about with my clients, is the way that they're speaking to themselves and what they expect for themselves, and are we being realistic in those expectations. And I actually had come across this study that was recently done that I thought that it would be super relevant to what we talk about here. And now, mind you, the study was done with moms, but I think it really it can impact anyone, even if you're not a mom, right? But basically, the study, and this wasn't like a super scientific study. It wasn't, because of course it's very the data was self-reported, so you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but I think it was really relevant. And basically it was looked at the relationship between self-compassion and sort of your body image, the way that you sort of look at yourself and treat yourself, and eating habits in these moms. And there was basically 100 moms that were asked to fill out a questionnaire, and they were, asked questions, around self-compassion, like, when you're going through a hard time, do you sort of treat yourself with care and tenderness, and questions around body esteem, what they, think of themselves when they look in the mirror, or their diet quality, to also ask them questions around their intuitive eating and emotional eating, that sort of thing. And it was the data that came together was really interesting. And basically, moms who scored higher on the self-compassion piece, so who treated themselves a little better, right, were more likely to have a healthier relationship with food, which was amazing. So basically, their diets were of higher quality. They were more likely to be really in tune with how they eat. They were intuitive eaters. We weren't just eating based on emotion and things like that. And they also found that moms that had higher levels of self-compassion also had higher levels of body esteem. So they felt better about themselves, regardless of size. This wasn't about, the size of people or how much they weigh or anything like that, but there was a connection there. And I thought that was super interesting, that if the way we treat ourselves seems, and I, not only, according to this study, but I see this all the time with my clients, the more that my clients start to have a more positive self-dialogue, that internal dialogue we have with ourselves, the more we are sort of in tune with how we are feeling and how we're judging ourselves and all of those things, it really does translate into us feeling better about our body. It also translates to how we eat. Do we get caught up in the emotional eating, if we're stressed or we're tired or we're bored or we're lonely, all those things. And when we're nicer to ourselves, essentially, it tends to translate to us putting better things in our body, which I thought was really interesting. And, when we're talking about mindfulness or self-compassion, see, people kind of say, well, what does self-compassion really mean, right? There's sort of three components to it. And the first is mindfulness piece, right? It's being consciously aware of what you're doing, about what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing. It's very, very much being present, which we've talked about on this show before. There's also the common humanity piece. It's recognizing that you are not isolated in your problems that you have. It's a common thing amongst humanity that we all have issues that we are challenged with. And so understanding that is a piece of self-compassion. And then the other piece of self-compassion is the self-kindness. It's being generous and decent to yourself in how you treat yourself. So it's really, I just found it very interesting, and I wanted to share it, that if we can practice being a little bit more compassionate to ourselves, again, the mindfulness piece, being kind to ourselves, understanding that we are not weird or abnormal with how we treat ourselves, that maybe it might translate to you taking better care of yourself. And I'm sure, like, this had to do with strictly around the eating habits, but I know for a fact, because I see it all the time, that it also impacts, how people want to move their body, how much they're going to, exercise, and how they sleep, and all those things. It just comes together when we are a little nicer to ourselves. So I just wanted to share it, because I just thought it was really interesting that, we've talked about it, but now there's like this little study that came out that sort of proved what we were talking about, or what we talked about before in the program. Yeah, really interesting.
Oh, I love that. Well, and if people are reflecting right now, they're listening to this and they're doing some reflection, can you maybe share some baby steps? Because if they're now thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not being compassionate to myself, what kind of baby steps can they start with?
Yeah, I think the first piece is we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to what we're saying to ourselves. Because that internal dialogue piece, we live in our own heads every day, right? It's not like we can separate ourselves from it and put our thoughts over here and we just conduct our life over here. We're one and the same. So paying attention to our thoughts is really important. And something that I've actually got some of my clients to do is to write those thoughts down if you feel like they are impeding you from moving forward in a positive way. So if you find yourself saying, oh, I'm too tired, or I don't have any time for this, or I can't be bothered to do that, or look at me, I'm so lazy and unhealthy, or whatever those negative thoughts are that are sort of rumbling around in your head, write them down, because as soon as you start to write them down, they become less powerful. We're taking the power away from those thoughts so that we can sort of see the picture for what it really is. And then we can kind of go, wait a second, those are just thoughts that I'm having and there's actually no truth to them. And let's flip the script and say something positive instead. And that allows us to move forward in a more positive way and take on some habits that are a little bit more positive. So that's a big thing, I think, is and I know it's a chore to be able to write things down, but every once in a while, if you catch yourself, again, if you're being aware and present, that you are saying not nice things to yourself, like, oh my gosh, I must be the only person that doesn't know how to eat healthy, or I'm so lazy, I can't get off my butt and work out, or whatever those thoughts are. Let's take the power away from those thoughts.
I love that. And that's
the first piece. Yeah.
Well, we talk a lot about journaling and the importance of journaling in all aspects of our lives. And it really makes sense, because when we get it out there, it's not stuck inside of us.
Yes, absolutely. It literally takes the power away. We can kind of see how ridiculous the thoughts are. It's like, really? I know I'm not lazy. Really? I know I'm not ridiculous. Like, it really can take the power away so that we can have some clarity to be able to say, okay, what's really at play here? Because listen, like I said earlier, this doesn't mean that, you're not weird, you're not strange for having these thoughts. This is a common thing, unfortunately, amongst humanity, that we tend to be very hard on ourselves. And this whole idea of being self-compassion or showing ourselves some self-compassion doesn't mean that you're always sort of giving yourself this get-out-of-jail-free card and not having any accountability. But it's understanding that sometimes we need to give ourselves a break, and that there's lots of factors that are at play in our lives. And when we start to be able to break those things down, then we can be able to sort of move forward in a more productive way instead of sort of getting lost in the thoughts that are going on in our heads. And then we just spin. It's like spinning your wheels over and over, and we don't make progress because we get too caught up. So to your point about journaling and just, then it doesn't have to be anything formal. It can be a scrap piece of paper that's laying around. And if you're like, oh my gosh, my thoughts are just, driving me crazy, jot them down, have a look at them, be reflective, pay attention. You just might surprise yourself at how you can sort of flip the script in your mind and start to show yourself a little bit more self-compassion.
Is this also a good way to see what type of outside influences are really affecting us also?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. We've talked about on this show about boundaries before, right? And yeah, if there's things at work, there's things in your personal life, there's things with, different relationships that you're having, these things all just catch up to us eventually. And again, if we're not paying attention to really what's at play, or we're trying to just ignore it and hoping it'll magically go away, it probably won't, right? So it's setting some boundaries for yourself to say, like, you know what, this is not what I'm able to take on right now. Or, you know what, I need to address this issue and really, take it on with sort of some assertiveness and take care of this once and for all, because it's nagging at me and it's dragging me down. Absolutely. So we have so many things that influence us, and people, situations and people that influence us day to day. And we don't always recognize that those things can be draining on us. And some things we can control and some things we can't. So I always say control what we can control. But being able to take time to reflect on those things is important, so that we're getting to the root issue of things and we're not sort of just putting our head in the sand and assuming things will get better on their own.
I find that we don't realize sometimes when there's those outside influences, because we say something and it's in our head. It's like, where did that come from? And then you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. But if you're writing it down, I think you'll see it more. They'll have a bigger picture, and you'll see it'll be a lot clearer for you and have a little bit more understanding. And I think that's when your self-compassion will come and you realize, oh, that actually wasn't my words. That was from somebody else.
Yes, 100%. There's lots of influences in our lives, right? And I want us all to be the biggest influence in our lives, in our own lives. We know what works for us. We know what we like, what we don't like, what makes us happy, what doesn't. And trying to focus on that is what really matters, right? And it's easy. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, right? And again, it's not a get out of jail free card, but I think that we have to understand when it's important to push ourselves and when it's important to dial it back a little bit and show ourselves some of that self-compassion. I think self-compassion can be also, let's raise the bar a little bit. Like, you know what, let's have some expectations of myself because I know I'm worth it and I know that I can do this. And we all always feel better for going in that direction as well, just as much as sometimes we need to dial it back and take a break. And a break doesn't mean it's a week away like I just took, but it can be a break of like, let's take 10 minutes and go outside and take a breath and see what's at play here. But I think that we have to understand that overall that the way that we treat ourselves and the way we talk to ourselves has huge impacts on the way we fuel our body with food, the way we're willing to move our body. Of course, when we're not, if we're beating ourselves up, then where are we doing that? We're usually sitting on the couch beating ourselves up. If we're positive and showing ourselves some self-compassion, then oftentimes, we're getting up, we're getting moving, we're feeling really good in our bodies. We're probably sleeping a lot better because we don't have all these negative thoughts rolling around in our head. We're managing our stress a little bit better. So it does have a big impact. But if we're not paying attention to how we talk to ourselves, then that will really play a big role in your overall self-care.
So how can we demonstrate this to our other members of our family and friends?
Communication is key, right? I mean, my husband and I talk about this all the time, like if we're not feeling so great, or if I notice that he's, starting to say some, not so great things about himself or what the direction he's going, then we have to communicate. We have to have conversations, tough conversations with our kids. Like I have 2 teenagers, right? And it's negative sort of, headspace. They do bad on a test, or, a friendship is, on the rocks, or whatever it might be. And having the open communication with those in our lives, because, and this is why people bring me into their lives, my clients, right? Because most times, we always feel better when we start to talk it out. We talked about journaling, that's talking with ourselves, right? But if we can talk to other people that in our household that we trust, and that we're comfortable with, just having conversations can really sort of shed a light on what's at play. And getting away from those negative thoughts. When we sort of say it out loud, we go, oh, wait a second, that kind of sounds silly. Why am I saying those things to myself? So where you can, engage with those in your life, whether it's people that live in your household, or maybe it's close friends or other family members, and have conversations. Because again, remember I mentioned earlier about the whole concept of, common humanity. You are not alone. You are not the only person out there that thinks the thoughts that you have, going on in your mind. And that's part of why I wrote my book that we've talked about in past shows is a lot of things that we think that we're struggling with, we think we're the only ones. And then you start to talk to the people, and then they go, oh my gosh, I have that same feeling or that same thought, or, and you go, oh my gosh. And so when you can talk about it with other people, they can offer potentially a new perspective, but just having a listening ear is really nice too. So let's talk, let's have communication, let's have dialogue between people that you trust and care about in your lives. It can go a long way.
Oh, I love it. And so what type of nutritional tips do you have to go along with this?
I think we talked about baby steps. I think the biggest thing, if you're looking to make some changes to your nutrition, because that will, have you feeling good, is to start really small. Don't try to change and overhaul your whole diet all at once, because it won't go well. Start with one meal or one snack and figure that out first. Now, we've talked in the past about the power of choices. So we've talked about that a lot of times. And so give yourself some choices for one meal or one snack, and focus on that and build your confidence. So let's say, for example, you take breakfast and you go, my breakfasts are not starting my day off on a note that I'm happy with. I need to explore some new breakfast options. Try some new things, right? You have to Google healthy breakfast options. You'll get a whole slew of things. But start with one meal and sort of master that, if you will, before you start making other changes to your life. We need to make small changes, and don't expect yourself to be perfect. Don't expect yourself to figure it out in one day, right? It takes time to figure out these different healthy habits. When I sign a new client and they join me in this partnership, they're committed to at least 3 months with me for a reason, because it takes time to change our habits and our mindset. And even after 3 months, we don't always have it all figured out. Most times we don't, and that's okay. It's a continuous process. But yeah, I like to start with one meal. Pick one meal. I don't care what meal it is, each and every day, to make sure that meal is serving me well.
You know what? I think that's probably one of the best tips ever, because we think that when we start making changes in life, we have to do it all at once. And we don't realize that when we do that, we actually fail more often than not.
Yes, absolutely we do. It's too much. It's too much. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, well, I'm going to fix my breakfast and all my other meals can be, pretty crummy. I'm not saying that, but let's pay attention and zero in on one area, build your confidence and go, okay, I can do this. And when you feel like you're ready, then you can move on to another meal or snack. And take baby steps, because that's what's going to allow you to have success and build some momentum. If you try to do it all at once, it'll be short-lived. I promise you that. It will be short-lived. And then you get frustrated, and then you're back to square one. So take baby steps, and that's part of being self-compassionate too, is understanding what you're actually willing and able to take on, and acknowledge that and go, I'm not able to take on all 3 meals of the day and all the snacks. I know what my boundaries are, my limits are, and I'm going to take on one thing at a time, and that's me being nice to myself.
See, that's why I love having you back on here. It just makes sense, right? When somebody actually says it out loud, it makes sense.
Right. And listen, it's not, I've said this before, if you've read my book, it's all in my book. It is not easy for me either. So I don't come here and claim to have, all the answers or, pretend that it's easy, because it's not. It's a challenge for me each and every day. It's a challenge for my clients each and every day. So if you're listening and it's a challenge for you, you're not alone. But we get it, right? But it starts with this whole idea of being self-compassionate and understanding what we're capable of. And so it's not easy, but if we continue to just focus on doing incrementally better each day, the smallest step, right, can keep us moving in the right direction. Then you're doing all you can. We're not staying stagnant. That's what we don't want. We want to continue to move forward, no matter how small the step.
So, Rhonda, how can our listeners check you out? Do you have some social media there? And you were mentioning your book. How can they go and check that out too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Rhonda Armour Coaching. You can follow me there. And my website is the best place to sort of to whether you want to reach out. My book is available on my website. It's available on Amazon as well. And so it's RhondaArmourCoaching.com. If you want to join my newsletter or sign up for a complimentary consultation, it's all there. I'm happy to help, any, person struggling with anything. Don't think that your issues are abnormal or too small or too big, because we all have things that are, worth the while to discuss and to talk about and hash out, myself included. I have my own coach for a reason. Because it's nice to have somebody to partner with. So, you can find me in all of those places.
Perfect. And to let all of our listeners know, we do post that on our social media so that you can go and just click on the link there and go check her out. Perfect. Oh, my gosh, Rhonda, thank you so much for today. I have learned so much. I've been writing notes the entire time. I love doing this because these are the kind of things that I pass on to my friends and family, because I really think it's really important to be able to do that, is to pass it on, to pay it forward, to inspire as many people as we can. And having individuals like yourself on the Divas That Care really does that. So I hope even with our listeners, make sure you take these tips and send them to your family and friends. I think it's really important.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure being here. I love how we have real conversations that impact, I'm sure 99% of the population. So
exactly.
Thank you for the forum. I really, really appreciate it, and for having me again.
Oh, you are so welcome. Well, we'll have you again next month here, and I can't wait for that too.
I'll be here.
Awesome. And a huge shout out to all of our listeners, our new ones and our ones that have been with us for the last 13 years. Yes. 13 years in over 30 countries now, and I'm so excited about that. Thank you to everybody that's out there. Make sure that you check out these calls, but check out all the other ones and like, comment, and share as many as you can, because that really supports all of our amazing guests out there. Thank you again, Rhonda. Thank you to all of our listeners, and please remember to do something kind today. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.